Well, there's been another disaster, boys and girls. Oh dear. This time, it's not in the kitchen. It's not in the Mirable studio. It's not in the Britannia studio. It's not anywhere in the house. It's in the garden. There's been a bit of a disaster in the garden, I'm afraid to tell you this, and I'm horrified at this. All those months of hard work. Have you any idea what's happened, eh? Have you any idea? Come on, any idea? No, the cat hasn't dug everything up. No, the cat hasn't done whoopsies everywhere. No, that's wrong. No one has tried to break into the garden. Okay? Squirrels have not been digging up my bulbs. No, none of that. Any idea what's gone wrong? No, we're not under floods of water, but there is a clue. Something to do with water. Now, have you any idea? Come on. Think carefully, boys and girls. What have I been doing for months and months now? Another clue. I have been growing certain things. Okay? Any idea? Come on, think carefully now. Think. No? Another clue. They are green and then they turn red. Ah! Now you've got it, haven't you, eh? The tomato plants. We've had a little bit of a problem. I say a little bit. Right? About a week and a half ago, I noticed one of the plants, one of the tomato plants, the leaves were going brown and then suddenly very easy to remove. On closer inspection of the said plant, I also noticed there were black marks or legions on the stem. The tomatoes looked okay. I thought, oh, maybe it's a temporary thing. I'll leave it. Worst thing I could have done. We have tomato blight, unfortunately, or tomato plant blight, which I looked on the internet all about this, and it's very similar to potato blight. It seems to be caused by too much dampness or water. Now, I have to tell you that in the dry periods, I had my automatic sprinkler system switched on to water the said plants for about an hour and a half every night. And I think this is what's caused the problem, because once again on the internet I looked up what causes this, and one of the things it says is caused by sprinkler watering. Because of course, as the sprinkler goes forwards and backwards, it waters not only the earth, but it covers the side of the plant in water. And it was that side of the plant that went black. Not the whole side, like big patches, like legions of big patches of black on the actual stem of the plant. And a couple of the tomatoes had gone brown on that side. Now I thought that wouldn't be too much of a problem, so I left it. I left it thinking, okay, don't water the plants for a couple of days and that will sort it out. Couldn't be further from the truth. The next time I looked, virtually all the plants had these black legions on, and in the space of just a couple of days. So it moves very, very quickly. And at the weekend, I spent an hour and a half, 2 hours, picking all the tomato. Did I say strawberries? It wasn't strawberries, tomatoes. At the weekend, I spent an hour and a half, 2 hours picking all the strawberries. Not the strawberries, the tomatoes, dear. The tomatoes. I was picking all the tomatoes off, even though they were all still green. And I had to cut the tomatoes down and chuck them all away. You can't chuck them in the garden because the blight can stay there. I found, again on the internet, the blight can stay in the soil until the next year and come back. Right, so you've got to be very, very careful. So I cut down all the tomato plants. I've got a special wheelie bin for all my garden waste. In they went in there, closed the lid, and the binman took them away yesterday. Also, the tomato plants weren't actually grown in the garden. I had grow bags on the garden, so to speak. So I also chucked all that earth away outside in the communal area where I don't grow tomatoes. So hopefully that won't come back next year. But what I have got, if I can just lean down here, is 2 very large bowls of tomatoes, which from a distance look very nice, right? 2 enormous bowls of tomatoes. Now, as you know, I'm a little bit tight with money when it comes to myself. I have to tell you, I did not grow tomatoes to save money on buying tomatoes. I grew them for the pleasure of having grown something and then eating what you've grown, right? But if we've got any accountants watching, and there are 1 or 2 around, tomatoes at the moment, the ones I buy are about £1 for 6, okay? And how many have I got there? All in all, I would say about 150 tomatoes. So you see, you know, I mean, if you're worried about, if you're thinking of doing it to save money, then indeed I will have done that. Now, as I say, from a distance, they look rather marvellous, but a lot of them have got this brown blight mark on them, right? Most of the tomatoes green, but on one side you've got brown, and it's not just one. I would say more than half have got this brown on. Now, I didn't think that would make much difference, to be honest. I thought, well, maybe you can't now eat them in salads and things like that, right? But perhaps, two great big bowls of them I've got, perhaps I can put them in the oven and kind of chop off the brown bit. That was until yesterday. I'd put the bowls of tomatoes in a dark place because obviously you need to redden them. Yeah, they need to go red. Unless, of course, you're making green tomato chutney, which I've been told I could use them to make it. I could use the tomatoes to make that. But I wanted to get them red, and I would put them in the oven when I do my, you know, that dinner I do, when I have tomatoes, carrots, onions, mushrooms, courgette, in a bowl, in the oven for 1 hour, and with a bit of fish or chicken. I wanted to use them for that. But yesterday I thought, oh, I'll just see. I mean, I've only been in the cupboard for 2 days. Yesterday I thought, oh, I wonder if any of them have turned red. And as I took them out, a lot of them, where the brown bit is on the top of the tomato, had fur on it. So clearly, they're growing something. And I think I'm going to have to chuck away all of the tomatoes with the brown on it. Now, I looked on the internet to see if these were still edible. My guess is, at this stage, if these were red, okay, I could probably cut off the bit of brown, you know, and look in the... Because you can tell by smell and looking, cut off the bit of the brown. It's a bit like mouldy cheese, isn't it? Now, come on, there must be 1 or 2 of you out there who've gone and found a bit of mouldy cheese, cut off the mould, and the rest is fine underneath, isn't it? It's like a piece of steak or meat. Now, I would never dream, actually. If I saw a bit of mould on a bit of meat, I wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't touch it. However, if you cut it off, there's no mould underneath, is it? It's a slow thing. It starts on the outside and works inwards, doesn't it? My theory is it would be the same with the tomatoes. You just cut off that bit of brown and cook the rest of it. But after seeing mould, or whatever it was, some sort of fur growing, and it was only on the brown bits. I saw it growing on the brown bits. I'm not so sure, and I think I'm going to have to chuck away. Or there's a bit of mould on that one there in front of me. I think I'm going to have to chuck away all the ones with black on there, really. Or brown mould, or whatever. I don't know what it is. Blight, it's called blight, isn't it? So there we are. Bit of a disaster in the garden, really. And it's a little bit disappointing, really, because for months I've been growing these. I think it was March. I put them in March, April sort of time, at varying different levels. If you remember way back then, I planted 2 trays of seeds. I also bought about 5 small plants from the garden centre, 60 pence each. I bought a couple of medium-sized plants, about £1.10 each, and I bought 2 large plants which were £4 each. And the idea was, as the season goes on, I would have a long season of growing the tomatoes. But it would seem that the blight has affected all the plants, not just the seeds or not just the older ones. They've all gone down with this. And as I say, according to the internet, it looks like it's been due to me watering them too much. And I am disappointed, but I'm still glad I've done it, and I've learnt from this. So next year, I will have another go. Hopefully I'm still here. Well, you never know, do you? Eh? God willing. That's a lot of the older ladies who I used to know at church used to say that. They'd come out with something like, "Oh, I'll see you next year, God willing." Oh, bless them. We like elderly ladies, especially Joy in Acton. Not that you're elderly, Joy, are you, darling? Huh? So I will have a go next year, and of course I've learnt by that, and I've learnt that you can probably use a sprinkler now and again, but it's better to go around with the watering can and water the plants at the bottom. You know, at the bottom of the stem, therefore the stem won't get wet and create that blight again. Very disappointed. Wondering if you had any gardening. I think it's a bit of a disaster, really, isn't it? Have you had any gardening disasters like that? Then do let me know. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Okay, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. And I'm pleased to say the email system is now working perfectly. All the emails are now coming through. If you missed the last show, you won't know that apparently I was told by actually Joe from AmericanTalkUSA.com. He does his own podcast, AmericanTalkUSA.com, that his emails were bouncing up. And on further investigation, I realised that the email forwarding was not working. So if you have been trying to send an email in, say, let me think, not last week, the week before last, a couple of weeks ago, and it bounced back, I do apologise, there was something wrong. I'm not sure what happened there because I hadn't changed any settings. However, the people that host the email forwarding, UK2.net, have recently changed, they've had a bit of an upgrade and got a new control panel. And I think that's what's happened. Obviously, they've done something and it's mucked everything up. Because that wasn't... I have various different web domains. I have UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk, UnitedKingdomTalk.com, beatmatch.co.uk, and various other ones. And all of them, except for my main website, chrisreardon.co.uk, all of them had the email forwarding disabled. And they all went like that. And it can't be a hacker or anything like that because they've all got different passwords. You know, if you're doing sort of stuff like computer stuff or anything that requires a password, you should never have all the passwords the same. Because someone guesses one of them, that's it, you've lost the lot. You always have different passwords. And again with your bank details. I've got a PIN number for my mobile phone and various other different things. But the bank PIN number is different from all the others. Very, very important to do that. Anyway, so have you had any gardening disasters at all like that recently, or indeed over the years? Then do let me know on the email, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. The strawberries I was growing, not much success with those. I've managed to make 6 or 7 plants out of 2 by pinning the suckers down, and I made new plants. But I've only had about 4 strawberries, which were nice, but 4, and I kind of wonder if it was worth doing. 4 strawberries on one of the plants. The corn didn't happen. It's a real disaster, isn't it? The corn didn't happen. It got so high, and then at the top of it sprouted like a piece of corn from the field, rather than sweet corn, which is supposed to, I think, hang down the side. Nothing at all. Might be because I grew it in pots. I did have big pots, and I put it in there, and I have a feeling I didn't get any corn because of that. And what was it? I think there's something else. Is it strawberries? No, there was something else. Peppers. Peppers, again, a little bit too late putting them in the ground, or in the pots rather. So we didn't really get any peppers. I did get 3, there are at the moment on the plant growing, 3 rather long chili peppers. And they look okay, so we might get something there. Or the other one was the peas, wasn't it? The garden peas. Again, grown in a pot. There must have been about six plants in this pot growing up sticks. And it did produce pea pods, which were very nice, but not many of them. You know, I didn't even get a portion of peas out of all those 6 plants. Oh dear, and to think that I wanted to be a farmer once. So a bit disappointing with the food growing, but what can you do? We'll try again next year and see what happens. Any disasters in the garden? Come on, let me know. Chris at UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. A warm welcome along. This is United Kingdom Talk. 3 times a week, light-hearted look at life. There's not usually anything too serious here. Also coming up in the show, parts. Let me see what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 7. 1 minute. Let me have a look at my I've got my story here somewhere. There it is. Part 7. Part 7 of Robert Louis Pell's The Elves of Iceland. That's coming up in the show as well. Okay. Those of you that watch the show on YouTube may have noticed the show I did by the pond in Bracknell in South Hill Park. I was in the shadow, wasn't I? The entire time I was in the shadow, so I was looking quite dark there. I just wanted to point out I haven't changed colours, okay? I'm still the gorgeous tanned bronze thing. So, I mean, you see, I said this before, people listening, you are just at an advantage, I think, some of you that just listen, because you can close your eyes and just imagine me sitting there in like perhaps a tight white vest with muscles protruding, that's it, protruding all over the place, and no body hair whatsoever. I really am a bit of a bronzed god here. It's difficult to actually leave the house without girls, you know, screaming and fainting as I walk through the aisles of my local Sainsbury's. The TV screen, we've got the new TV screen sitting behind me on the wall as well, those of you that are watching. I did have some pictures revolving on it last time while we were just trying it out. Today I've just got the United Kingdom Talk blaring away up there. If you'd like to send in your picture, now I'd love to have it revolving around with some more pictures behind me there. Perhaps pictures not just of you, but of where you look. And maybe those of you that live in the countryside, or perhaps, I don't know, we could have some marvellous pictures going around on the back there. Things like, if you're in New York, how about some scenes from New York? Or if you're in, I don't know, China, we have people listening and watch. I don't know if you can watch in China. I know we have some people listening in China. How about some lovely pictures of things to see, or the beautiful countryside of China? Then send them in, okay? And I can put them on the big screen behind me there. Chris at UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. As always, the emails do take a week or so to come up, all right? Because the show is recorded a week ahead. Now, what else have we got here? Oh, it did make me laugh. The children now, here in the UK, are now back at school. They've been on holiday. They've been on this summer holiday for 6 weeks. But I was in the shower, in the public swimming pool I go to, Bracknell Leisure Centre. Oh, that reminds me. Barry. who is one of the swimming pool attendants. He's been there for years now. Really lovely guy, Barry. Always chat away to him while he's sitting there, but while he's sitting on one of those... They sit on those tall stools, don't they? Watching everyone, what's going on. And he said to me, "Are you doing any more shows on the YouTube then?" And I looked at him, I said, "What shows?" He said, "Oh, I just typed in your name and I found there's loads of them." And I went bright red while he was talking. And I said to him, "When are you going to move up the ladder?" He said, "I already have." He said, "Look," and he pointed to his label. And what was it? It says, like, duty manager. And there was another young boy who works there as well. He was... I think they were both doing some cleaning or something. He said, look, duty manager, look, he's only pool attendant. So Barry is now duty manager. Congratulations, Barry. I'm very impressed. Now, the poor pool attendant could just look on as Barry was walking around, but not in a suit. This is the thing. I said, when are we going to see you in a shirt and tie? Assuming, of course, that shirt and tie means you've moved up the ladder. But Barry is still by the poolside. I'm not quite sure what else he does. Do you know that? I mean, that pool attendant, I have to say, it's got to be one of the most boring jobs in the world. It really has. I was talking to the manager of the whole place. His name's Mark. He's been there a few years. I think he's climbed up the ladder as well. I'm not sure if he's in charge of the whole centre or not. Another nice bloke to talk to. And I remember speaking to him about 4 years ago, and he told me all that time he'd been sitting on those stools for about 12 years or something, and he only ever went into the pool 3 times to save someone. You know, it does happen. It does happen. But those lads who work round the poolside, I mean, I could be their dad. They look, except for Barry. I mean, he's a bit older for me to be his dad, but nevertheless, the other ones, they look so young. But they do, it may be boring, but they do such an important job. And I tell you what, they really have their work cut out for them when the children, I hate that word, kids, when the children are on holiday. You know, because they're jumping in the pools and creating hell. It's the showers that are noisy. God, I mean, the showers in the swimming pool are like a social, what's the word? It's like a social club in those showers. All the old dears are chatting away to each other under the shower. I mean, you can't get in. There's like a main shower area, okay, where you can shower, but you have to get your costume on there because it's men and women. This was my whole point. You might have been with us, I don't know, about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when I first started doing this show. At that point, we had men's showers and we had ladies' showers. They all worked very well. Anyway, some bod from up high decided it would be so much better to have all the one lot of showers. It's all to do with saving money. You know that, don't you? And I never agreed with that. However, that's how it is. But they do have 3 little boxed-in showers that you can go in, close the door, and then take off all your costumes and have a proper shower. I never think you can have a proper shower if you've still got your swimming costume on. Innit? You can't. How can you wash your bits? You can't wash your bits. So I like to go into one of the lockups. But while the children are on holiday, the noise in there is unbelievable. People banging the sides of the of the shower boxes and slamming doors and screaming and shouting. Dear me. It's not like the private one I used to go to, but it is £400 cheaper. So I don't mind. I put up with it. I really do. But I've got to tell you, I was in there last week in one of the lock-up boxes. And of course you can hear what's going on all around you. And often you hear like a little boy or a little girl saying, "Jane, is that you in there?" And of course I don't say anything. "Jane, are you in there? Jane?" "No, it's me." "Oh, sorry." Or, no, usually they don't say anything. If I say, "No, it's me," that's it, you don't hear anymore. They don't say sorry or anything. They just disappear into the light. But a conversation I heard, you do hear all sorts of conversations while you're in that shower cubicle. It sounded like a couple of little boys in there. And they were saying there was obviously a couple of little boys and someone older, perhaps a brother, might even be the dad, I don't know. But they were on school holiday. I said, what are we going to do after swimming? I said, we're going to go to KFC. Oh, okay. And then, what are we going to do after KFC? Oh, well, we might go home and watch a bit of telly. Oh, that's boring. Can we do something else? Well, we can go to the cinema. Oh, okay. Well, what are we going to do after the cinema? And these boys just sounded really completely and totally bored with life. It's funny. Really funny. Do you remember being bored as a child? I don't know what it is like where you are, but here in the UK, we have I think it's usually 6 weeks summer school holiday. Now, I remember having those 6 weeks holiday, and for the first week or so, it's great. Oh, all this time to do things that you want to do. Well, within a week, you tended to have done them all, I'm afraid. Did you find that? Do you remember your long school summer holidays? Did you get bored? Or what did you do? What did you do on your school holidays? Do you remember? You probably went away somewhere for a week or so. But what about after that, when you got home and you still had 4 weeks to kill? I have to say, I spent a lot of my time in front of the television. I'm trying to remember if on school holidays I got up at the same time as I used to get up to go to school. I don't think I did. Might have been about an hour later or something like that. But I think I was still up by 9 o'clock in the morning. What about you? What did you do on your school holidays? Great things, or things that you'd wish you could do again? Perhaps you could. I remember going camping with the Scouts. Some of the best times ever I had in the Scouts. Really good. We had a marvellous Scout leader, Ted Malden his name was. He died a couple of years ago. He was so dedicated to us boys at the time. Absolutely dedicated to the job. What did you do in your school holidays? Have you got children of your own? Do they get bored while they're on holiday? Is it like these boys that are in the shower? What are we going to do next? All the time. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I want to know about it. And the email is working now. It should get to me. Apologies if we lost any of those emails while the thing wasn't working properly. I don't know. I mean, talking of KFC, of course, it's not one of the places I go to. I tend to avoid the KFCs and the McDonald's of this world. I always think it's a bit sad on a Sunday afternoon, where perhaps I've been out on my bicycle. Now, I don't do a roast dinner on a Sunday afternoon. It's a big tradition here in the UK to have a roast dinner on a Sunday afternoon. My mum always had a roast dinner on a Sunday afternoon. She'd start cooking it, I don't know, about 10:30 in the morning, slowly. She'd like to do everything slowly and properly, my mum. Me, I don't bother for myself. Very, very rarely do I do a roast dinner. And even if I do, it won't necessarily be on a Sunday. I might decide, I think I'll have a roast dinner today on a Tuesday afternoon or something like that. Sunday, no, I haven't really got the time to do it. So Sunday, I'll have something very, very normal. I might just have eggs and bacon for lunch, or beans on toast, something like that. But at least I'm cooking something. I always think it's very sad when you see those whole families going to places like McDonald's or KFC on a Sunday afternoon. And it's not just 1 or 2 people. Certainly the drive-through KFC at Bracknell, and I'm not having a go at the food or anything like that. But for a Sunday afternoon, to take your family to KFC for dinner, I mean, it doesn't do it for me at all, I'm afraid. Does it? Am I being old-fashioned here, boys and girls? Is it the old-fashioned? Perhaps we should all stop cooking on a Sunday afternoon and taking our children and loved ones to a fast food restaurant. What do you reckon? I don't know about that. I really don't. Let us know your thoughts, Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Do you take your family to a fast food restaurant? And they're even called... You know, I never put the word restaurant and fast food outlets together. They call it McDonald's restaurant, KFC restaurant. To me, it's not a restaurant. I know they're serving food, and I know you're sitting down, and I know you're eating. But to me, a restaurant is you go in, you have waiters and waitresses, and you sit down, and the table's laid out, and there's plates, and that to me is a restaurant. I think there's a difference between a restaurant and a fast food outlet. McDonald's is not a restaurant, is it? Or is it me not moving with the times? Do you take your family out to a fast food restaurant on a Sunday? Let us know if you do. Why? Why do you do that? Is it because you haven't got time? Or can you just not be bothered? Is it easier? Come on, kids, in the car and drive to the KFC drive-through on a Sunday. And, you know, it's not one or two people doing this. There's usually a queue of 10, 15 people waiting to go through this drive-through in Bracknell. And I just think it's terrible. I really do. I'm not being stuck up or anything. I just do. So there we are. Let us know. Spoke to a very nice man at the weekend. You know, I don't think... You've got to be a certain type of person to do something like this. This man, he's 28. His name's Giovanni. Okay? There's a clue to where he comes from. Giovanni! No, he's not Italian. He's from Columbo. And he's over here to learn English. And one of the best ways to learn another language is to go and live in that country. He's here to obviously learn English. Although actually you could probably learn every language under the sun here in London. Certainly just down the road in London. Because we have such a wide diverse amount of people from all over the world. You could come here and probably learn Chinese, Punjabi, Arabic, any of the European languages. We've got them all living here. You walk down, I mean, you go around some countries and the racism is quite shocking. It really is. In London, you will find, certainly, I was going to say in certain areas then. No, I think it's all over. Certainly in central London, okay? You will find you walk down the street and any number of nationalities pass you in just those few seconds. And it's marvellous to have all these other cultures, really, I think. You don't have to... I mean, me, for example, I love all these people, but I don't like the food. I don't like Chinese food, don't like Indian food or anything like that. That's just me. Sausage, beans and chips, that's me. But nevertheless, I quite like the idea of so many different nationalities sharing opinions with each other and that. And there's no trouble. We just get on with it. All parties together. It's fantastic. There's so many other places I've been to where that tolerance does not exist. I saw examples of racism in Australia and New York, I'm afraid to say. And New York, you would have thought, would have been the place where people got on as well as they do in London. Although it was quite a few years since I've been to New York. I think it was 2003, something like that. It was the last time I went there. But you would think, you know, that would be a bit of a multiracial society where everyone gets on. And I saw various examples of racism, people talking about other people, which I always find quite unpleasant. You know. But anyway, this guy is from Colombia. He's over here learning English, right? Name's Giovanni. And he lives in the smallest room that someone could live in. I saw his room, right? And it's basically a converted electrical cupboard in a house. A lot of the houses here in the UK, we have the bedrooms, the bathroom, the living room, and another cupboard, usually what's like either a utility room or a small electrical cupboard. He lived in a converted electrical cupboard. No windows, half the size of the Britannia studio from where this show is coming from. Tiny room it was. He's been over here nearly a year, and to earn money he does cleaning. Okay? Cleaning is not the best job in the world. It is certainly not the best paid job in the world. However, it is a job. He works long hours for his money. He lives, I would say, in cramped conditions. So does he do all this just to learn English? He wants to improve himself. He's looking at things long term here. I can't remember what he said he wanted to be now. I did ask him, what do you want to do? Can't remember now. But he's over here as well because the money that we pay here is better than he could earn in Columbo. So what does he do with the money? His father died a little while ago. So his mother is still here. And I think one brother and two sisters. Right? His mother isn't too well. She's got the big C. He works and he sends a lot of his money back to his mother and his brothers and sisters. He's paying for one of them to go through college. This is on his cleaner's wages. So it just goes to show you, even though the wages of a cleaner are not very good here, it appears to me to be better than working where he is from. You see, so he's obviously earning the money here and sending it back to them. And I think he lives right on the line there. He hasn't got much in his room. He's got his laptop computer, a bed, a table lamp, a fan, because I can imagine it must get so hot in that room, especially recently with the heat we had here. I didn't ask him how much money he sends back, but he does send quite a lot of his back to his mother and his brothers and sisters. You've got to be a very special person to do that, haven't you? Could you do that? I'm not talking about parents, you know, like, say, you are someone's mum or dad, and then for your children. No, that's different. That's different. I'm talking about you as a person. Would you start sending money to your brother and sister so that they could go through college? Or sending money to your mother or whoever your parent is in another country? Not just one-offs. You know, this is different from going round to see your mother. There you go, mum, there's 50 quid, go and get your hair done. Or go out for a while. Oh, thank you very much. No, this is regular. All the time, he's sending the money. You've got to be a very, very special person to be able to do that. Very similar story, of course, to that awful incident of the Chinese cockle pickers. Do you remember that story a couple of years ago, where a lot of them drowned in Morecambe Bay here in the UK when they were out picking cockles, and unfortunately the sea came in very quickly and it surrounded them and a lot of them drowned. They did the same thing. Chinese cockle pickers coming over here from China, probably a lot of them employed illegally, paid very, very minimum wages and sending most of their money back to their families in China so that they can have a better life. And the people here in the UK, the Chinese people here in the UK, living in such awful conditions, sharing a bathroom or a toilet with 20 other people, sleeping 6 in a room. Their life is to get up in the morning, pick the cockles off the beach, put them in buckets, and then go back to sleep again and be fed. No real lives themselves, sending the money back to their people in China. I think you've got to be a very, very special person to do that. I really do. All right, boys and girls, it's time for part 7 of our enthralling series, The Elves of Iceland by Robert Pellis. The affiliation of the bracelet gathered on the deck as dusk began to fall. Captain Spoy wanted to make sure that one and all knew what to expect upon the rising of the full moon. For the Sky Longboat is not just a boat, no, it is a magical creature unto itself. The wood from which the Sky Longboat is made comes from the ring of fir tree, or otherwise known as the curry tree. Indeed, when the moon raises above the horizon, as does the Sky Longboat, the longboat then moves with a speed commensurate with that of a person that has eaten from the hot curry dish. Captain Spoy says, I have gathered ye all here, so that I can tell ye what to's expect when the old gal rises from the water. First, yous will notice the deck begin to twitch and shiver all up and down. Next comes a noise that I be only able to liken to an elephant breaking wind. 'Tis the same with the smell too, I be sorry to say, my lads. And then ye will feel the old gal fair leap from the water and sail into the sky. I have spoken with the old gal and have told her where we want to go. We should be at the Isle of Pharaoh upon the morn. Now, pirates will be tending to her, and for the rest of you, well, keep out of our way, for 'tis be dangerous. I rather fear the crewmie will be about this night, so keep below decks and heed the words of my pirates. The affiliation of the bracelet went below as the first rays of the moon crested the horizon. Swinky Chops was the last to leave, and as he did so, he felt the first of the strong tremors run through the ship. The pirates secured the lines and made ready the sails. Other pirates gave their cutlasses a final kiss on the honing stone. They knew, oh they knew, that the crewmie would soon spy upon them that night. Their hope would be to reach a height about which the crewmie would not be able to fly. For sure, the next hour would be the telling. Below decks, the others kept to their own thoughts and listened to the creaking of the wood as the boat began to settle into her climb towards the sky. Noises of hushed voices above told of the preparations being made by the pirates. Their wait was not long. Flying from the east, with the moon upon its back, the first crewmie struck, and with such a force. The pirate on the bow fell dead upon the deck, his neck broken by the swift and lethal crummy beak. Other crummies now gathered around the Sky Longboat, their cries filling the air with fear and dread, for they had tasted blood, and they loved it so. Oh yes, they loved the blood of elves so. Captain Spoy gave orders fast and clear. The pirates moved with speed and skill. Another crummy perhaps emboldened by his experienced brother, dove for the decks, his eyes only for the back of neck of the pirate upon the stern. The pirate was aware of this attack and had been watching the approach of the speeding bird upon the reflection on his cutlass. He turned with the grace of a ballet dancer and dropped the cutlass blade upon the back of the croomy bird with the skill of a butcher. The captain witnessed the two halves of the bird slide across the deck. For the next hour, battles all up and down the sky longboat raged as the toll of death rose. With a cry of defiance, the last of the crummy birds fell towards the clouds below, unable as they were to maintain the altitude of the attitude of the sky longboats. That night they cast forth the fallen into the seas far below. Captain Spoy had lost 10 pirates, and with a further 5 badly hurt. The wounds of the crummy usually proved fatal. But if he could keep them alive until they reached Faroe, well, they might have a chance. For on Faroe there would be healer elves. There we are. Part 7 of the Elves of Iceland with Robert Louis Pales. Part 8 in the next programme. I'm sorry about the... has the TV's gone off. Just a minute. Where's my little logo gone? It's gone off. There it is. Oh, it went off then. My TV behind me went off. I just noticed that. That must have the... what's it called? The... the screensaver thing on there. I just got a text message in. Let's see who that is. Just a minute here. Oh, it's James Dean. James Dean's just texted me. He says he's at the theatre tonight. Oh, it's always at the theatre. All free, you know. He never pays for tickets or anything. Gets all these things free. Shocking, isn't it? Anyway, he's gone home now. I'm pleased to say. Do you know, I'm a little bit peeved with James Dean. I have to tell you that. After staying at my house for a couple of days and doing nothing, because he doesn't lift a finger when he's here, you know. Oh, God, no. No, absolutely not. He doesn't wash up, doesn't do any cooking, nothing. He does nothing when he's here. You know, if you make him a cup of tea, okay, when you make him a cup of tea, the cup will be left wherever he's been drinking the tea. It never goes out to the kitchen. Never. I mean, God knows what his place is like. It must be a right dive, I tell you that. You can imagine James Dean's house, probably one of those kitchens where plates and that are just stacked up high in the sink and left there for weeks on end. I feel sorry for the cats, because cats don't like dirty houses, do they? My house is not dirty. I like to think it's clean, a little bit untidy, maybe too many bits of paper in the kitchen table, you know, and things tend to get moved around. For example, really, my office is where I should have all my paperwork and all the receipts, but they tend to end up all around the house. Which is a bit of a problem when you get a phone call from someone, or you haven't sent your letter back yet. And you know, what letter is he talking about? I hate paperwork. I absolutely hate it. Do you? Anyway, was a bit pleased with James. After looking after him and feeding him for about 3 days and this, that and the other, after we recorded the last show, which you would have heard or seen, after that, an hour after that, he had to do his own show because he works on this tiny little station in Manchester, right? It's the same one Suko's on. He works on this community station, which is actually very popular in the Manchester area. It's in the Tameside area. And he does it on a Sunday. Well, of course, he was here on the Sunday, so he did it from my Mirable studio next door. And the show was on between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. And do you know what? Between 3 and 5. You can have a listen to the podcast of the show. You can find that by going to matineeshow.co.uk on the internet, okay? matineeshow.co.uk. If you type it in iTunes, it is very, very difficult to find. Now, he did say he would have sorted this out. But again, I had another look today, and it's horrendously difficult to find. on iTunes. Matinee Show. It's actually called Matinee Show, okay? If you type in Matinee Show in the search, I don't think you can find it. What you have to do is go to matineeshow.co.uk. This is how to get it on iTunes, right? Go to matineeshow.co.uk, and there on that front page, there is a little bit of text, which I think it's, I'm just trying to do this from memory now. I think it's in a white box. In a white box, it's a bit of text that says Matinee Show Code or something like that, and it finishes .xml. What you're going to do is highlight that, copy it, and then paste that into the iTunes podcast search box, and it will find it. Okay? But it's a bit of a long-winded way about it. If you want to watch me or listen to me on iTunes, then it's quite simple. All you need to do is type in Chris Reardon in the iTunes podcast search box, top right-hand corner, and it will all come up. You'll find the chat show, which this is. You'll find my DJ music mixes, and indeed the video version of the chat show. It all comes up if you just type in Chris Reardon, and that's it. But with the Matinee Show or James, and you type that in, and it's impossible to find. It really is. Anyway, so he's doing this show next door. And I'm kind of in the house. I mean, I popped out first to go to Sainsbury's to get some more food because he ate the cupboard. But there's nothing left in the cupboard, dear. Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard and the cupboard was bare. Old Mother Reardon went to his cupboard and the cupboard was bare, dear. It's all gone. Eaten all my food. What a liberty, dear. So I sat down, got back from the shops, and I sat downstairs, and I thought, well, you know, I did keep dropping hints. I said, what time do you want me in there? Oh, that was because I had another microphone set up in here. So after we finished recording the show in here, I took it back in the other room, and he was preparing for his next show in there. And I said to him, oh, shall I set up the microphone over here? He said, well, I won't need that one. And I'm like, oh. I said, so you just want the one microphone set up? He said, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, shall I set it up in case you need it? And he kind of didn't say anything, really. And I said, well, I'm going to pop out now. I'll try and get back for when you start, just in case you need me. Oh, no, I'll be all right. And then I sat downstairs. I got back from the shops a little bit later than he started, actually, around about 3:10. And I sat downstairs. I made a lot of noise downstairs so that he knew I was back. And a couple of times he popped down the stairs. He says, all right, and then he stood out the back while he was playing a record or something. I'm sort of waiting to be asked to come up. Nothing. Nothing. Nice, isn't it, eh? Nice. He sits here on my show, doing an entire show, and when it came to it, didn't want me on his show. I felt totally and utterly rejected. I mean, apart from my parents, I think that's the story of my life, really. Rejected once again. I was unwanted, boys and girls. Unwanted again. Rejected, on the shelf, pushed out of the door. Maybe I could get someone else's show to foster me. I could be a foster presenter, couldn't I? Eh? I could be fostered on another radio show. What do you reckon? Nasty piece of goods here. And after all that respect I gave him while he was here, feeding him, didn't want me on his show. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, well. Let's do some emails. Hello to Chris Anderson. Hello, Chris. He's on my Facebook now. He says, say hi, Chris Reardon. Best talk show in the world. Well, I'm not sure about that, but thank you for the comment. It's very nice of you, Chris. All right. Joe from AmericanTalkUSA.com is the one that told me the emails weren't working. Thanks for letting us know that, Joe, because I had no idea. I suddenly realised that the emails had dried up. I mean, now and again you get a lot come in and then maybe nothing. But there'd be nothing, and then maybe just a few. But there was always one or two coming in from somewhere. And we had nothing for like 2 weeks. And I didn't think that it could be that the email system wasn't working. I thought you were just kind of happy with what was going on. Joe pointed it out, but it's all working now. Joe also says, I love the elf stories from Iceland. Cheers to Robert. A nice feature. So thank you for that. All right, they love it. They love it, Robert. We got about, I think there's about 12 or 15 parts altogether on that story, and that was part 7 we did today, okay? Hello to Andrew, who wants to know, what was the title of the books you mentioned in a recent show, the ones with the ambulanceman? Noticed you mentioned my neck of the woods, Wigan. Keep up the great podcasts and mixes. And that's from Andrew. Andrew, the book is, there's 2 books. The first one is Blood, Sweat and Tea. Okay? And the other one is More Blood, More Sweat and More Tea. And it's a story of the ambulance by... Oh, what was his name? I've forgotten his name now. I forgot the author's name. Oh, you silly boy, Christopher. Tom Reynolds. Tom Reynolds is the author. And it's funny, actually, as time's gone on, I've also got a message from Millie, Motorised Millie last night, who's back online at last now. And she has already bought the first book and read it within 2 days. It's a really good read, that, okay? Once again, Blood, Sweat and Tea. And also, the second one is More Blood, More Sweat and More Tea. And both books are written by Tom Reynolds. And it's all about his life working on the ambulances. Okay, boys and girls, time for me to go now. As always, thank you very, very much for watching or listening to the show today. Quickly, from Irvin Distiller, who says, James, spread the word. One of Chris's video shows, his belly button was showing and rolls are fat. Yeah, there was a button open on my shirt. Glad you noticed it. I'm sure other people did as well. Wasn't it awful? I hope you weren't having your dinner. Chris at UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk is my email address. Feel free to join in. For myself, Chris Reardon, thanks for watching and listening to United Kingdom. See you. Bye-bye.